would never see him again. There was people who was laughing at me and laughing at this situation, making fun of us. All you motherfuckers who doubted me and doubted this shit and said this was never coming back. All y'all. What you gonna say now?
This Young Thug and Mariah The Scientist drama just hit another level. We already know Mariah walked away from Thug after those jail calls leaked, especially the nasty one where he straight up bragged about hooking up with a corrections officer.
Wow, I'm so P. Mariah don't even know. I mean, it bitch still fucking. Goddamn CO give the box quicker than the FedEx work. He don't be telling my business, man.
But here's the twist. Mariah actually knew about those recordings almost a whole year before the world heard them, and she was scrambling behind the scenes trying to bury the story. Some leaked texts between Mariah and a blogger who had access to the calls are now circulating online, and they're wild. Back in October 2024, Mariah was basically pleading with this blogger not to release Thug's phone call audio. In her own words, she wrote, "I would have been willing to find a creative way to support you. This is seriously hurting me. My relationship has been destroyed in so many ways. You have no idea. I've already been embarrassed, and I truly wish this wasn't happening to me. Can you please delete the post? I'm begging you just to work with me as a person, as a woman. This has truly affected me and has taken away my desire to live life to the fullest. If you can let me know what you spent investing in those videos, and I will reimburse you." That's heartbreaking, but it also shows how desperate she was to control the damage. She wasn't just upset, she was willing to pay to make the scandal disappear. This isn't just relationship drama anymore. It's full-on survival mode for Mariah. The leaked texts between Mariah and this blogger get even messier. And honestly, they show just how deep this situation went. At one point, Mariah was literally begging, "Please talk to me." And the blogger replied, "Can you call me real quick? It's too much to type." On Sunday, October 20th, 2024, the back and forth continued. Mariah texted, "Good morning. Was wondering if you could email me some of the stuff. I've had some time to calm down." Then a little later, she wrote again, "Well, good morning. Where are you at?" The blogger answered, "Hey, at IV therapy. I'll hit you when I'm back home." Mariah replied, "Okay, thank you." Later that same day, the blogger followed up with, "Almost home. I'll send it." Moments later, "Just sent you a large email file of text messages. Did you get the email?" That's when Mariah dropped a question that showed how vulnerable she really was. "Your answer won't change our agreement, but rather will have an effect on how I feel. Are you agreeing to this because you really understand, or is it about the money? I just want to know that someone understands me." Then she added another bombshell. "Would you ever help me look into the FOIA process? I'll talk about that later if I decide I wanted that help." The blogger's response was surprisingly emotional. They told her, "Honestly, Mariah, it's both. From a woman's perspective, I feel you. I can understand why you wouldn't want it out. From a business perspective, I'm actually taking a loss financially. But because you've absolutely pulled on my heartstrings, I will make the sacrifice and just rely on the universe to bless me. Yes, I'll help, only if you're strong enough to handle it." Mariah responded, "I appreciate you, honestly." And the blogger closed it off with, "Thank you." This wasn't just some business negotiation, it turned into a full-on emotional exchange. Mariah wasn't only worried about exposure, she was searching for empathy, for someone to just understand her in the middle of all this chaos. At first, the blogger actually came across as sympathetic toward Mariah. And to be fair, they did keep their word about not dropping the jail call recordings. But here's the catch. Those calls were public record, which meant anybody else could still dig them up and leak them. And that's exactly what ended up happening. But here's where it gets shady. Even though the blogger didn't leak the calls themselves, they eventually put Mariah on blast by releasing the private text messages, the very ones where she was begging for help, despite the fact that she had allegedly paid them. That's a different kind of betrayal, and it left her wide open to public humiliation. And now, looking back, everything starts to make sense. I mentioned how Mariah looked absolutely crushed while performing Is It a Crime on stage recently. At the time, people assumed it was because she had just learned about Thug's cheating. But the truth? She had been carrying that heartbreak for almost a year, silently fighting to shield them both from complete embarrassment. The sad reality is, Mariah wasn't just blindsided in the moment, she was battling a storm behind the scenes the whole time, and as much as she tried to keep it together, this was a fight she was never going to win. And the fallout from all this is starting to show in real time. Fans who once saw Mariah and Young Thug as this ride or die couple are now looking at her completely differently. People are saying she sacrificed her peace, her image, and even her career just to protect someone who was out here humiliating her behind bars. That's why those leaked texts hit so hard. They don't just show her pain, they show her desperation to keep the truth from blowing up. But here's the wild part. The internet is split. Some are dragging her for begging bloggers and trying to pay people off, while others are saying it proves how loyal she really was to Thug, even when he didn't deserve it. And honestly, both sides have a point. It's messy, because no matter how you look at it, she was caught in a situation where protecting him meant destroying herself. Now Mariah's on stage, singing songs that sound like confessions, her emotions written all over her face, and it's impossible not to connect the dots. She's not just performing music, she's performing her heartbreak in front of the world. And meanwhile, Thug is sitting in a cell with his scandals spilling everywhere, leaving Mariah to pick up the pieces in public. This isn't just relationship drama anymore. It's a full-blown spectacle, and Mariah's pain is center stage for everyone to see. Now, the conversation online has completely flipped into a full-on debate. Was Mariah showing loyalty, or was she losing her self-respect? Some fans are praising her for holding it down when most people would have walked away immediately. They're calling her ride or die to the core and saying it proves she truly loved Thug beyond the fame and money. But the other side is way louder right now, and they're not holding back. They're saying Mariah embarrassed herself by begging bloggers, offering money, and trying to cover for a man who was clearly out here disrespecting her. Comments like, "This is why women shouldn't defend men who wouldn't do the same," and "She chose loyalty over dignity and lost both," are all over social media. It's become bigger than just Mariah and Thug. It's sparking a whole discussion about relationships, boundaries, and how far someone should really go for love. People are projecting their own experiences onto it, and that's why this story has so much traction online. For some, she's an example of devotion. For others, she's a cautionary tale. And what makes it even crazier, Mariah hasn't really addressed the situation directly. She's just been performing, dropping subtle messages through her music and stage presence, which leaves everyone else to argue on her behalf. That silence only fuels the debate because fans are reading every lyric and every look as some kind of hidden confession. Remember earlier when I mentioned Mariah asking the blogger about the FOIA process? That detail is huge because it shows how desperate she was getting. For anyone who doesn't know, FOIA stands for the Freedom of Information Act. It's a law that lets everyday people request government records. Basically, if something happens in a government facility, those files can be requested and made public. So when Mariah was asking about FOIA, she wasn't just throwing random questions around, she was literally looking for a way to stop these jail calls from spreading legally, since they were recorded in a government facility. She was hoping there might be some loophole to block them. But here's the heartbreaking reality. Jail calls are almost always considered public record, which means anyone can request them. And that's exactly how bloggers, outlets, and people like Whack 100 got their hands on them in the first place. Just imagine the stress she must have been under. She probably knew deep down the law couldn't save her, but she was still clinging to any possible option. And when that very first recording hit the blogs, you already know her stomach must have dropped because she realized it was only the beginning. Day after day, more calls surfaced, and the nightmare she had tried to prevent for months was unraveling right in front of her. And the scariest part? There's likely even more that hasn't leaked yet. If that's true, Mariah's been sitting with the fear of what else might come out. And every new drop is like another wound reopening for her. At the end of the day, the truth always finds its way out. And for Mariah, those recordings leaking was the breaking point. She had already been carrying that pain in silence for months, but once the world got to hear what she was trying so hard to hide, there was no turning back. Now the big question is, where does this leave her and Thug? Some people are convinced Mariah isn't going anywhere, saying she's too wrapped up in him and that all this breakup talk is just a front to save face. Others think the opposite, that this was the last straw and she's finally done for good. The internet is calling it everything from damage control to straight up cap. And honestly, both theories sound wild enough to be true. But what do you think? Do you believe Mariah really walked away from Thug, or is this all smoke and mirrors to protect her image while still being tied to him behind the scenes? I need to hear your take. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you've been following this drama with me, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates, because trust me, this story is far from over.